Howdy y'all, it's Hiddenpurple, back for more game discussion. This week, I'm doing things a little differently. Again. I want to talk about a bit of gaming news, a bit of gaming adjacent news, and also talk about a particular game genre that seems to have drawn the ire of much of the old school gaming crowd. First, let's talk about that gaming adjacent news. That news being Article 13, which is an issue that was recently brought to my attention and one that, if passed, will affect any and all online content creators. This is such an important issue for a number of reasons. Obviously, it threatens the livelihood of almost every YouTube out there aside from a handful of specific niche channels. The vague wording of the article would essentially turn internet entertainment platforms like YouTube into cable TV networks. So what is Article 13? Well, I honestly don't understand all of the finer points. I'm not a lawyer, but I can put together what it means for user-generated content. If this law passes, which I believe it is in the final stages of passing, it will change the way fair use works in Europe. Instead of copyright strikes hitting content creators directly, those strikes will hit websites like YouTube directly. This means that YouTube will have to come up with a much more strict set of rules about who can and cannot upload videos. So for example, a content creator like myself would be blocked because I don't actually have the rights to anything I put up. All of my content is of course protected under the Fair Use Act, but YouTube doesn't want to get hit with a copyright strike, so they'll only allow the original owners of the content to upload related content. Obviously this is a European law, so you'd think this wouldn't affect me, but as a rule of thumb, websites like YouTube tend to pick the strictest set of rules from around the world, and they build their community guidelines around that. Which means that there's a very good chance that I would be affected by this directly. The people who would be allowed to continue uploading would be major producers, Warner Bros., Universal, and the like. These people obviously having the rights to upload the materials that they own. No other platform in history has offered the level of creative license that YouTube does, and that's about to go right out the window. There isn't really anything specific that I or any of my American viewers can do, but if you do live in a country that will be affected by these laws, I encourage you to write your representatives telling them about how you feel about this issue. And any of those American or European viewers who happen to watch this video should also tweet at your favorite European content creators. Raise awareness because I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this. Also, I googled it and yes, post-Brexit Britain will also be affected by these laws. If you want to know more, check out MatPat's video on the subject. It's much more thorough. Link to that video in the description. So, on to less pressing issues, let's talk video games. I picked up a game, I say picked up, but it was free, called Darwin Project. This is another of the many Battle Royale games, so when I found that out, I was a little skeptical. I had played other Battle Royales before, and while I didn't hate them, I wasn't particularly stunned by their design. I didn't see Battle Royale mode as a particularly clever innovation to the shooter genre. Yahtzee said it best. Sooner or later, someone was gonna say, why don't we just take the basic deathmatch concept that was in the very first multiplayer shooter ever and scale it up to the biggest map and the biggest number of players possible with modern technology. I'll leave a link to Yahtzee's review of PUBG in the description. I agree with him completely. It was kind of just the way shooters were inevitably going to go. PUBG may have struck gold when they put the idea out there, but it wasn't really that much of an innovation. The map shrinking over time was also just a natural evolution, otherwise the games never would have ended. I have nothing in particular against the Battle Royale style games, at least not with the idea of them. Their communities too tend to be pretty fucking toxic. The developers can't really be held at fault though for the people who play their games. The issue I have is the complete lack of creativity in them. PUBG is just a shooter with a massive map and 100 people. Fortnite is just a massive map with crafting, shooting, and 100 people. And so on and so on and so on. So what is Darwin Project and how does it set itself apart? Well, Darwin Project is basically Hunger Games, the video game. Seriously, the cynical atmosphere with the quirky dialogue. The music even sounds like it was ripped straight from the Hunger Games soundtrack. That's not to say they stole their music, but it was very similar in style. Anyway, it's a quirky game that's actually pretty fun to play. Though not for the reason you might think. The shooting is okay, and it has its own version of Fortnite's crafting system, except you can't build structures with it, which makes sense in this case, as Fortnite was originally designed to be a survival sim and was eventually adapted for the Battle Royale mode. So that functionality as a crafting system to build structures was actually just kind of incidental. The Darwin Project crafting system just allows you to jury-rig up some armor and gadgets when you first start out, and later on allows you to craft devices that give you superpowers. Now, that's where it starts to get interesting. Seriously, superpowers. You can tell teleport, go invisible, jump like the Hulk. It's actually pretty fun, but honestly, not the main attraction to the game. What really had me engaged was the announcer mode I unlocked at level 5. Once unlocked, you're given the ability to select a drone that spectates the matches, effectively playing as the Games Master from Hunger Games. It gives you the ability to talk to all of the players and give them hints if they're struggling, telling them when they're about to get snuck up on or if they're heading towards a trap, which I believe is one of the intended features. If you're like me though, you'll go back and forth and tell people to head to certain areas with promises of goodies only to be ambushed by another player. This is just one of the functions of the Game Master though. You're also given cards with various functions. Some of them allow you to offer gifts to assist players in their struggles in classic Hunger Games fashion. Others allow you to put a target on one player and trigger a manhunt minigame. I played in a game where the Games Master triggered a Blood Moon event, which marked every player on the map and triggered a sort of free-for-all. My favorite of all of the cards offered to the Games Master though, if you fancy it, you can nuke the map. That's right, you can drop a nuke on the head of one of the players who's pissing you off, which is just gravy. The entire purpose of this game mode is to fuck with the players, and I absolutely love it. It's a breath of fresh air to a genre that I honestly thought was old and stale the moment it got popular. The thing about Battle Royale games is that they're all pretty much the same, and it really needed a game like Darwin Project to come in and raise the bar. All the other Battle Royale games I've played have been too samey, and the dynamic ways that adding a human element changes each game makes for a much more enjoyable experience. If the Battle Royale genre is here to stay, and it looks like it is, I hope that more companies will come up with fun and clever ways to mix up the formula. Also, Darwin Project is in its early access, and this review doesn't represent my final opinion of the game. We'll see what happens in the coming months as they finish the game and make it more feature complete. There's also another Battle Royale game that I'd like to mention that I really think is changing things up, and it's a lesser known game called Spellbreak, which I haven't had the opportunity to play yet as I can't get an alpha key, but it's extremely interesting in the way that it changes things up. What the game does is, instead of putting you in a field with a bunch of guns and telling you to shoot everybody, it gives you magic spells. Spellbreak is a wizard battle royale. I'm going to show a bit of the gameplay footage here, but I'll also link their channel in the description. The whole concept is awesome to me. I love the idea, and the things that you can do with a magic system in a game like this are incredible. It'll allow for a much more dynamic and interesting gameplay over the samey, boring old shooters that we've been served time and time again. So, the last little bit of news I have for you comes from a friend of mine who loves Mass Effect just as much as me. It turns out that HBO has acquired the cinematic rights to Mass Effect, which hopefully means that they're going to make some kind of Mass Effect themed drama. I would love to see that, and I plan on spamming their inbox with messages demanding they get to work on the project. If you want to see a Mass Effect TV series as badly as I do, then get on your computer and harass HBO executives on Twitter until they get the message. This news actually comes from a Reddit post that my friend had shared with me, and I will also be linking that in the description. The Redditor describes his idea for a Mass Effect story, which I love. It's pretty basic and needs some expanding, but the main idea is great. Make it unclear that this is a Mass Effect TV series until the end of the first or second season when we discover the Sharon Relay, which would effectively make it more digestible to a wider non-Mass Effect fan base and allow the Mass Effect series to be introduced to the mainstream crowd, which would of course place the setting in a pre-Shepard era, before Torfin and the other formative events in Commander Shepard's life, which I'm totally on board with. I've already got the story of Commander Shepard. What I want is more Mass Effect, not more of the same Mass Effect. Anyway, I think that's it for me this week. Hope you liked it, and if you did, give me a like and a subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you never miss out on any of my future content. If you have any of your own thoughts on the topics I've discussed in this video, be sure to voice them in the comments section downstairs. I'll see you guys next time. Peace!